The Batteries Included podcast is brought to you with United Chargers. United Chargers presents the Grizzly range of EV chargers. There's the original Grizzly Classic, a powerful, heavy-duty, portable EV charging station built to withstand the toughest conditions. The Grizzly Duo, a dual-port unit designed to charge two vehicles at the same time. The Grizzly Mini, a small portable charging station built with an indoor-outdoor rated cast aluminium enclosure. And the Grizzly Smart, a revolutionary smart EV charger. All Grizzly chargers come with a convenient 24-foot cable and the ability to adjust the current from 16 amps all the way up to 40 amps. That's 9.6 kilowatts. Plus, they're IP67 rated. Built in Canada with the highest quality materials. Order yours now at unitedchargers.com. That's unitedchargers.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Batteries Included podcast. It's March the 1st, 2024, and this is episode number 26. Thank you very much for joining us. On today's show, we'll be talking about Ford EVs now able to access the Tesla Supercharger network, Tom driving the Polestar 3, Kyle driving the 2024 Volkswagen ID4, and of course, much, much more. I'm Dominic Yoni. Joining us today is the scintillating Mr. Tom Logney, senior editor at Inside EVs and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. We also have the megastar Mr. Martin Lee from the EV News Daily podcast, which is available on all the best podcast platforms. And of course, Kyle O'Connor joins us from the majestic, practically palatial halls of Autospec Studios, where he produces high voltage videos for a number of YouTube channels. So, good morning. Hello there, everybody. How you doing?
Hello.
I'm just gonna switch you around here, Tom. Okay. I was it's making my OCD all funky.
That bothers me also, so you're not the only one. Get it right, damn it.
All right. We're gonna blame Kyle for that. For some reason, I don't know why. So I forgot to ask before the show, Martin, if we have a EV News Daily weekly reporting roundup today.
Yeah, I mean, it worked last week doing it live with a frisson of excitement that I could cock up at any moment. So let's do it live again.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, no, now? Okay, right, there we go. It started so badly. Red Tesla Model 3 featuring the performance enhancements that we know are coming with ludicrous badging was filmed on social media in Valencia, in Spain, with a contrasting front splitter, new aero wheels, different trim, and red brake calipers on this as well. So we knew that the kind of so-called Highland version of the performance was coming, but we think it'll be a ludicrous now seeing the badge. Tesla, the film crew asked this person to stop taking pictures. It was all quite secretive, which tells me something's up. Polestar was commencing its manufacturing of the Polestar 3 in China this week, with plans to extend production to South Carolina by mid-2024. The Renault Scenic E-Tech won Car of the Year at the Geneva Motor Show, up against the BYD Seal, Kia EV9, Peugeot E3008, and the Volvo EX30. Yeah, World Car of the Year, not World Car, European Car of the Year. All EVs, aren't they? Interesting. New Jersey plans to gradually eliminate the sales tax exemption for new and used EV purchases over the next 3 years, according to Governor Phil Murphy's budget address. Apple officially discontinued their decade-long project to develop an EV, marking the end of one of the most ambitious endeavors at Apple. The Volkswagen ID4 is about 12% of VW of America's sales last year. There's a new 82 kilowatt-hour battery option this year and the return of the $7,500 federal tax credit because of the SK-On batteries. Elon Musk claimed that the upcoming Roadster will do 0 to 60 in under 1 second this week. BYD's luxury arm Yangwang introduced the U9 electric supercar. Following its first vehicle, the U8, which is an SUV. The U9, unveiled in Shanghai, is a two-seat car, about $250,000 equivalent, with 1,300 horsepower, a motor on each wheel. Tesla installed over 500 free charging stations in their car park of Gigafactory Berlin, accessible to everyone. They look like the Tesla wall charger, just on stands in the outdoor car park, available to the public to go and use as well. And they're free. This is Tesla doing what Tesla do at their very best. That's alongside the V4 Superchargers they've also got there, which I think went online last November or something. 78% of American EV buyers have used the federal tax credit from the beginning of the year as a down payment, according to the IRS. The separate credit offering up to $4,000 on the used cars also available. Out of 25,000 Americans who claimed the credit this year, 19,500 used it at the point of sale. Xiaomi introduced their first electric vehicle, the SU7, at Mobile World Congress. The SU7 is a performance sedan. General Motors reintroduced its presence in France. The Cadillac Lyric launched over here in Europe this week, marking its return to the European market. It's been on sale in Switzerland already, I believe, expanding to Germany and more markets towards the end of the year. Renault unveiled the Renault 5 electric super mini at the Geneva Motor Show, marking a return to their retro styling. €25,000, about £25,000, and it'll be one of the most cost-effective electric vehicles on the market. IM Motors, which comes from SAIC and Alibaba, unveiled their electric saloon, the L6, this week. They're working with Audi on EV development in China. Has an 875-volt architecture and charges at a peak of 396 kilowatts. BYD's first cargo ship, the Explorer #1, docked in Germany this week, full of 3,000 BYD electric vehicles for the European market. Hyundai advanced their production timeline for the new Georgia Meta plant. They're going to begin EV manufacturing in Q4 this year, earlier than the 2025 target. And a new gigafactory for electric vehicle batteries for Tata, so Jaguar Land Rover's parent company, will be established in Somerset, not too far from me, in that direction. Or maybe that way, adjacent to the M5 motorway, which is big news for the UK. And you can find out all the things that go on in the world of electric vehicles every day by listening to the EV News Daily podcast. Got away with it again. Got away with it.
That was awesome. Thank you, Martin. That was great. That's the EV News Daily weekly reporting roundup. So I guess we should kick off the news part of the show with the news that the Ford electric vehicles can now charge on the Tesla Supercharger network. We've known this was coming for some time, but now it is real. And owners of Mustang Mach-E and Ford F-150 Lightnings can reserve a free adapter from Ford until June 30th of this year, after which it's $230. With that adapter, they can use the Ford Pass to activate a charging session on most version 3 or in version 4 superchargers. I think they could also use the Tesla app, if I'm not mistaken, as well, but also the Ford app, which makes sense. It covers all the networks. I don't know. Well, yeah, we'll talk about how that all works in a second. If you have a Ford Focus EV, of course, you're out of luck. I thought Tom was going to be the first person not working for Tesla to do this, actually. But while he was on a plane flying back from driving the Polestar 3 in Sweden, which we'll talk about later as well, Kyle here grabbed the glory and was actually, I think, the first to do this. And he edited and published a video of the experience like immediately after. So, by the time I woke up, this is already out there and on the news, and it happened. So I guess, Kyle, tell us about this experience a little bit, and what do Ford owners, what do they need to know?
Yeah, well, and Tom also did have the opportunity to charge his Lightning shortly after I did.
Yeah.
And we were actually at the airport at the same time as I was heading here and he was heading in.
Right.
However, we just missed each other a little bit. So the thing is, Ford and every other automaker that's committed to NACS started, honestly, because Ford did it. If Ford never switched to NACS, none of this would have ever happened. But I think we need to go back a little bit and just, lay the stage, which is the reason this happened is Electrify America, charge points, distributed network of owned units, and EVIQO. Those three are the three big powerhouse, conglomerates. And when it comes to charging, and I wouldn't consider ChargePoint a network since they're individually owned, many of them, but they all suck equally. Like maybe not equally, but they all suck in their own way. And so, I think we've seen improvements in recent memory, but even then, just running into annoying bugs and weird things. And one thing has remained constant, which is while the Tesla Supercharger network is not perfect out of, thousands and thousands, what are they up to? Almost 20,000 stalls combined across all Tesla Superchargers. In the US, I think there are 50,000 globally. dispensers. The network is pretty damn reliable. It's pretty great. So Ford, I guess, we hammered everyone on the networks. We always do. And I said, okay, let's get the supercharger. Ford got the supercharger access. I was like, I got to get this story. This is amazing. This is everything we cover. I'm all about road tripping, DC fast charging, networks. This is our world. And we were lucky enough to be among the first 20, 25. I don't even know how many. I saw a bunch of influencers and different Ford enthusiasts get the adapters, but they offered us an adapter. And I said, hey, well, can I just be at the first supercharger with the truck whenever you're doing the thing? They said, yeah, it's in New Jersey. That was easy enough. I just popped on a plane, grabbed a Lightning, and just woke up early. There was no real plan. They're just like, anyone who wants to come can just show up throughout the day. But I was up at 5:30 in the morning just waiting. And I was like, okay, when can I plug this thing in? and it worked great. So I took an F-150 Lightning to a Tesla version 3 supercharger. By the way, not all version 3 superchargers are open. Only the ones that have the upgraded DC meter and the CCS comms module in them. And so right now I don't know, it might be that 15,000 number, but it's not every version 3 supercharger out there. There's still some stretches, like especially through Wyoming, but I'm not even sure if there's any V3 chargers up there. They may just be V2s.
South Texas too is kind of southwest or West Texas looks a little bit sparse.
Southwest. Stretches are a little bit empty. I was just looking at those. So it's not every supercharger, but it's a ton. And I mean, really, you can go so many more places and have a backup plan now at worst case. So Ford provided, and Tom will give you a demonstration and a breakdown, but they provided this, which is a CCS to NACS, a NACS to CCS adapter, J3400. It's nice, silver-plated copper. It has a little release pin in here. I'll let Tom go through all the details, but it's got like a pretty strong latch on here. They had I saw their drop test unit that had been through a bunch of abuse, and it looked pretty good. And that was an earlier prototype than this one. These, by the way, Ford provided them to, early access people. These are prototype adapters, but they're pretty much series production. They just didn't come down the same series line. So we have to send these back, and then we get a new series production as soon as they arrive. So I think there won't be a time when we don't have the adapter, but I just wanted to make that known. What else should I say? Yeah, you get full charging speeds. This will do 500 amps. Everyone's saying it's a 10-minute timer.
Yeah,
for
it's 10 seconds. Or is it 10 seconds?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
But it's not the case. The adapters have no counter in them or anything. It just goes by vehicle request. And then if it needs, if it gets too hot, it'll interrupt the current. But there's no 10-minute timer in these. I confirmed that with Ford. And that's just, I don't know why they say it on their website. And I think it's just because that's what their vehicles will request.
That's the thing, Kyle, that Ford wanted to clarify that the vehicles will accept 500 amps for about 10 minutes and then drop down to 300 amps. And people confuse that with the fact that the adapter can only do it. So that's the basis of it, I think. I tried to clarify it a little bit in my video.
Yeah, and then some other interesting items about the adapter. This adapter was designed and engineered by Tesla. If anyone's really curious about this and everything, we did a whole podcast with Robert, who's a charging engineer from Ford on the Out of Spec podcast, and talked a lot about the intricacies of this. And essentially, the thing is, it's designed and engineered by Tesla. Ford is distributing them at no cost to Ford owners, which is awesome. And what's cool is it works with plug and charge. Once you have the vehicle set up, you can plug in and then you can charge. However, I actually think similar to Electrify America, Tom, you cannot get the Tesla membership pricing with plug and charge. You have to manually activate it. Do you know if that's true? Have you played around with that at all?
I think at this point you're correct. I don't know if that's something that they're going to change, but at this point, I don't believe you can get the discount.
Yeah. So okay, that's crazy. So anyway, the big story is you can take a Mustang Mach-E or an F-150 Lightning, go anywhere you want to go, and just plug it into a supercharger. You're good to go. There's going to be, of course, cable length issues, making sure we're not blocking stalls. The thing is, if there's an F-150 Lightning or a Mach-E charging, just park right next to them, because then you're not adding an additional break in terms of stalls. And I'm very, very excited about this. I'm going to go on a huge road trip with Tom, actually, testing all this out. So we have a bunch of fun stuff coming up, and I really can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be a great week coming up, I think. So, Tom, I understand you took your own personal F-150 Lightning, and you can see it here on the screen. This is your video that you put up from your experience there. So I guess you had no problems. Do you have any further insights into the actual experience part?
No, not really. I mean, one thing I want to add is Kyle had mentioned correctly that Ford's given these adapters away to current owners. It's for Lightning, Mach-E, and also E-Transit owners. And it doesn't matter if you're the original purchaser. It goes by VIN. So if you own the vehicle now, you qualify for the adapter. And this ends June 30th. So you've got 4 months to get your free adapter. If you don't fill it out and apply for your free adapter by June 30th, you've lost it. And if you buy a Ford electric vehicle starting on July 1st, no free adapter. Now you have to buy it. So there's a 4-month period now where if you either own a Lightning or a Ford EV now, or you buy one in this interim, you fill the thing out immediately and you'll get it. It's going to take a while because there's potentially 60 or 70,000 that they have to send out. Now, I know not everybody knows about this and not everybody's going to ask for it, but there's a lot of adapters, and I talked to Ford about this and they confirmed, yeah, this isn't going to be like fill it out and you get it tomorrow.
Right.
They're probably already building up a queue. Some of the people that were really into this and knew about it were like just waiting and immediately filled it out. Kind of like, Cybertruck, if you didn't reserve one that first hour, you're going to wait a year to get it. So It's going to take a while. And
it's going to take a year, though?
I don't know about a year, but it's going to take a while.
Okay.
Don't forget Tesla's making these, or, they engineered it, but they have a manufacturing company probably in China or Taiwan making the things. They're not the only, Ford's not the only outlet that needs them. Tesla, there's going to be multiple outlets, and Tesla's going to want to sell them themselves. So, I don't know how quickly they're going to be able to ramp, but it's going to take a while for sure. And I got there yesterday at about 2 o'clock or 2:15. As you guys mentioned, I was flying home from a trip up in the Arctic Circle, which we'll talk about a little bit later with Polestar. And I got the call about a week ago from Ford, maybe a little bit more than a week ago, saying, February 29th, we need you, at a Supercharger at 8 a.m., in New Jersey. And I'm like, I'm going to be in Sweden. And there was like a pause, and they're like, Tom, we're doing it in New Jersey because you live in New Jersey. And I'm like, well, you should have let me know a little bit earlier because I'm not going to be here. And I was supposed to come home on Friday, but I was staying an extra night in Stockholm because the flights were messed up trying to get connecting flights, because I had to take 2 flights to get to where it was a really remote place. But we were able to move around the flights and get me home yesterday, which I was appreciative of Polestar for doing that. And then when I showed up, I was talking to Ford, and I'm like, you didn't do this just for me. They're like, Tom, you were one of the major reasons. They're like, of course, and I'll say it wrong because I'm going to just call him Marquise Brownlee from now on. That's going to be his name. That's what the name I'm giving him. They're like, he lives in New Jersey too. So they're like, we're very cognizant of you and him. And that's probably the 2 main reasons why we did this in New Jersey, because I asked Ford ages ago, when this thing becomes available, please, I want to be the first person to use it. And Ford promised me that they're like, we won't let anybody do this before you. But I was like, I'm on a plane. I'm like, well, I guess you're going to let someone. They're like, well, we tried, Tom, we tried. And they did, which I really appreciate. And I'm so glad it was Kyle to do it, not somebody else, because I feel like that's the same thing as me doing it if Kyle's out there doing it. So it was really cool. It was a good day. I got the video up at 1 a.m. last night, which is probably not a good time with YouTube algorithms to launch a video, but that's when I was done editing it, and I didn't sleep for like 33 hours and got it up, and everything worked. One of the things that's going to be interesting, you guys talked a little bit about finding stations that are currently open. In Ford's Charge Assist, it's listing the Superchargers now, the ones that are V3 and the ones that are turned on. But there's a new Supercharger that's like about 10 miles from me. I haven't even been there yet. And it just opened up like 3 weeks ago. And I checked today because I want to do a lot of testing. I want to test the other adapters I have. I want to see if my Rivian and my Bolt will charge on it, all the stuff, which I don't think they will. There's other people reporting that the other vehicles are not working when they're trying to do it, but I'll try it anyway. But it wasn't coming
Actually,
up on.
Tom, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried it last night and I couldn't get it to work, but someone brought up a good point, which is maybe because you have a Ford Pass app, maybe you can try activating it with the Ford app. We can nerd out about it at the end, but I just wanted to get that point out there.
Yeah, that's what I'm hanging my hopes on, because it'll be cool if I get to do it. So now I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this?
I'm so sorry. Oh no.
Where was I going with this, guys? Help me.
New supercharger.
So the new supercharger.
Yeah.
Right. So it didn't show up on Charge Assist, but it's a brand new site. I'm like, how can that thing not be, why would they just turn it on 2 weeks ago and not have it ready to go? So you guys might know Pete Bremy, who's my friend. I know Kyle knows him. Kyle's met him a few times. He's always in the comment stream. He's not in the comment stream today because this morning he took my Lightning and the adapter, so I don't have it here. I have the other two knockoffs, if you want to call them. But he took my Lightning up to that supercharger to see if it'll work, because that's where I want to go and do all my testing today. It's the closest one to my house, but I don't want to drive the two vehicles up there and then have it not work. So he's up there testing it, and he sent me a message like 10 minutes ago. It worked. So I'll be up there today doing it. But the interesting thing, what I'm getting to, is it's going to be hard to know what stations work, because that didn't populate in the Ford Charge Assist, which is really the best place to go right now. If you use like Google, I did my Google navigation to the supercharger yesterday, and it said like, your vehicle won't work here. So, in Google, so the Charge Assist is currently the best way for Ford customers to know if that supercharger has been turned on. But in this case, it wasn't showing the supercharger. At least I guess it won't take you to one that isn't turned on. It might not show all the ones that are currently open yet, but I'll be up there later testing. Pete should be here any minute. I told him to come back, and I'm actually going to bring him on the show and thank him for coming. He's going to hand me the adapter, and he'll hang out here while we're doing the podcast. You guys will recognize his name in the because he's always in the comment stream. He's a really good guy. But so that's that's what I have on it so far. I didn't do all the testing with these other adapters and the other vehicles yesterday. Number one, because I didn't have enough time, and number two, I didn't want to crap on Ford's day. This was Ford's day, their coming out party. They were so happy. So they've been great to us, giving us the adapters, giving us the opportunity to do it. I didn't want to say, oh, and by the way, you don't even need this thing. Look, you could buy these. And, and this is going to be a whole discussion on safety. I'm going to do a ton of testing with these. I'm going to put infrared thermometers on them. I'm going to test them for long times. I'm going to bake them in heat lamps. I'm going to do all kind of stuff to try to figure out if these things are worth considering. I mean, off the top of my head, you'd say, well, Tesla engineered the one, that's probably the one you should go with, but it's not that simple. People are going to not want to wait for their adapter if they have to wait 3 or 4 months. And listen, these are going to be available. People are going to be buying these, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to try to figure out which ones are safe enough to endorse, or not even endorse, but, I will at least, because we know there's going to be a lot of other ones, and some of them are going to be junk. And I'm going to say, don't buy this one. I might end up saying this about one of these, the A to Z or the Electrons, but I haven't used it enough to really figure that out. They might be engineered just fine. I know that I've had extensive conversations with these companies. I've talked to their engineers. I've seen their facilities in China. They sent me pictures of the facilities, heat testing and water intrusion testing and constant load testing and everything. I know both of these companies are actually trying to make it as safe as they can, and according to the new UL, I think it's 2552 standard. But let's see. You can't go wrong if you get the Tesla one. But I'm not going to rule out saying the other ones will work okay too, because we've seen a lot of other adapters on the market that work just fine, and a lot of them that are crap. But we'll try to figure out which ones are worth saying. If you can't get the Tesla one, this one's not a bad alternative. Just, keep an eye on it. And as with anything, keep an eye on the Tesla adapter. I've had followers tell me their Tesla adapters have failed in the past, the other way around. Kyle burned his out. Well, Kyle could burn out, something that was, engineered by NASA for the amount of usage he gets. But, if it's going to burn out, the best, you want one that just simply fails. and you take it out and throw it out. Not that it melts your plug in your car or something like that. So that's what we're going to try to figure out, which ones are worth considering.
I have a feeling. So Donovan
wait a
Lewis.
minute. Someone's here.
Okay.
Peter. I'll slide over a little bit.
All right.
Okay, so it worked.
Hey,
It worked.
Pete.
Give me my adapter back.
Right on.
All
And
right,
he's
so-
branded as well. Look at that. He looks the real deal.
Yeah, oh yeah, Pete's got all my swag. You see, he's got a state of charge. He was doing official state of charge work, so he had to wear the uniform.
Of
And
course.
Pete's an interesting guy. Let me just take for a second. Yeah, you guys might know he's the coolest guy in the room here right now. Some of our older followers might know the rock band Vanilla Fudge. Pete's the bassist for Vanilla Fudge, and if you don't know who Vanilla Fudge is, do you know the song "Keep Me Hanging On"? Which, not the original version, the rock remake version that's slow. That's Vanilla Fudge. I mean, Led Zeppelin used to open for Vanilla Fudge when they first came to the U.S. And Pete wasn't the original bassist back then, but he's been for how many years now?
Close to 20 years.
Almost 20 years he's been the bassist. So, and there he is, rocking it.
Yeah.
I've been to his concerts, and they still kick it.
Right on. Nice.
Yeah, Pete's the best. Long time EV follower, I would say. Really knowledgeable. He should just be a regular on the show.
Well, he is. He's in the comment stream all the time. And Pete's also a Tesla Model 3 owner. He's had a Model 3 for like over three and a half years now.
Four and a half.
Four and a half years. You might
Four and a
have,
half years.
yeah, you might have remember I made a video about 4 months ago when he hit 100,000 miles. We did a review on his Model 3 with 100,000 miles.
That's
Still
right.
had like 93% of its original capacity.
That's
He
good.
takes care of his Model 3. He charges it pretty much mostly at home, supercharges it some, and he has his charging rate knocked down to 24 amps. So he charges
Okay.
it slowly. He charges it every day, the kind of things you really want. And he's proving that it works. 100,000 miles, 93% of its battery capacity. So
Can't argue with that, really. Those are good numbers. Right.
all right. Well,
So-
that's pretty much it on the NACS adapter.
Okay, well, there was something I want to mention. So Donovan put in the comments, he ordered his adapter from Ford at 8:30 a.m. yesterday, and the website says it'll get it in May. I saw someone put it on Threads yesterday. They had I thought they had like a year away from now. It was
No,
like
it's not a year. Can't be a year.
No,
I've never
Okay.
seen
It's
anything
going to take
that
a while.
far.
I don't think a year. I was talking loosely with Ford yesterday,
Mhm.
and don't quote me on this because I don't have
Sure.
the best memory, and I was up for like I said, like 36 hours straight at the time. I think they were saying they're expecting at the most to be like 6 or 7 months, but
Okay.
don't quote me on that. But I
Okay,
think
then-
that's what they said. But still, there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to wait that long, and you
Right.
can get one of these now. So I'm not endorsing them, but I'm just giving
Right.
you your options. We haven't tested them yet. I have a feeling Kyle and I are going to be testing these perhaps soon.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
Why not? Right. So
Yep.
Yeah, I have a
Anyway.
feeling a lot of people aren't going to want to wait. They just want to get something as soon as they can. At least a handful. Maybe the people who travel a lot,
they're
basically.
$200
right?
Dom. So
Yeah.
a lot of people are going to say, you know what, for $200, if I get to use it for 6 months until I get my Tesla adapter, it's worth it.
Yeah.
And then I'll
Yeah.
put it online and sell it for like 110 or something, So
Right.
it might not be a bad strategy. If you really want to use these now, pick up one of these. I'm sure it's going to last 6 months. It would be an epic fail if it didn't. Until you get your Ford adapter. Although here's the caveat. Tesla has, quote unquote, banned the use of non-approved adapters from the network. Now, they have no way of
Right.
enforcing that, just like EVIQO and Electrify America have banned like all adapters except the Tesla adapter from their network, but people use them all the time. It's really more of a liability thing. Ford didn't ban the use of third-party adapters. And we're getting very in the weeds with the wording, but Ford will not endorse the use of any third-party adapter and defers to Tesla. So Tesla's banned them, so Ford kind of banned them, but they wouldn't say we're banning the use of any other adapter than ours. They said we will not endorse any other adapter but ours, but they do want their customers to use the official adapter. But they stopped short of saying we're going to ban you from using them. They said, but we want you to follow Tesla's advice, and Tesla has banned them. So
Right. We have people arguing about 4 or 5 string basses in the comments. That was great. I think Pete plays a 4-string, right?
do you pay a 4-string or 5-string bass?
Yes.
I said,
Awesome.
4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, and 6.
Okay. Oh, 6.
Well, this guy can play. You guys,
Right.
if you ever get a chance, if Vanilla Fudge is playing in your area, I know it's it's old rock, but they put on a good show still. It's worth going to see.
Yeah. Love that. All right. So I want to mention also that so Rivian is going to get access to this.
Before we move on, Dom,
Yes,
is that right if I just jump in?
please.
Okay, cool. Quick question, because from a European here, we have CCS2. On CCS1, I know that you've got the latch that goes into the car. Obviously, I can see there's another latch that goes from J3400 into the adapter. What happens if you push that down while it's charging? Is it an instant cutoff? Is there any way you can... Yeah?
Yeah, it just breaks the pilot signal, the control
Straight-
pilot.
Like immediately?
Yeah, boop. It breaks the contactors under load. So I wouldn't stop the charging session by doing this.
Hell no.
But it can work. I mean, like each car is probably rated for 500 or 1,000 cycles of that. It's probably not the end of the world.
Okay. And in your video, Kyle, you mentioned that you're about to go on a big road trip. You might be commencing it soon, using that prototype adapter, and that Ford would keep you updated on which ones you can use. I've also seen coverage, the Tesla Supercharger map on their website has now got an option as well, which says, Superchargers.
Yeah, that's what
open.
I've been using is the Tesla one. But then Tom and Pete just found that one that wasn't on the map officially working.
Yeah. So in terms of, it's great that they're opening it up for, the likes of Patrick and Liv and the other guys that were there with you yesterday, Kyle, but in terms of the everyday Ford driver, is there a hard date when it's an official launch?
Don't know about that.
No, I don't
I mean,
know.
I think
I can't find
the
it
hard
anywhere.
date official launch was yesterday, and the
Yeah.
adapter ship. As soon as the adapters start rolling, you're good. I've heard of Ford EV owners already getting the Supercharger update as of yesterday publicly.
Me
that
too.
were not part of this program. So as long as they have the adapter, which in theory, one of the ones Tom has can work, they can have the same access we have. So
Okay.
it's not, nothing here was the only kind of special access that Tom and I and the other sort of early access folks got was the official adapter. And this is 4 weeks away, but the again, I don't recommend them, but the official ones will work.
And we also got the update early, Kyle. Besides the adapter, my vehicle's been updated to use this for like 2 weeks now. So
that I didn't know. I just borrowed one of their cars. It didn't even show me the update, but I do know that non-people part of the early access did get the Supercharger update yesterday. Some of them at least.
I might have been the first one, because when they contacted me a couple of weeks ago to tell me that this was happening, Ford Com said, look, as soon as the update's ready, we're going to push it out to you. You'll be getting it in a day or two. And, one day I just went outside and it was there. And I think I sent you guys a screenshot of it. We didn't put that obviously publicly, but I posted it in our chat that, I got it and I'm ready. So it just, I wasn't here to do it, but it was good. I was able to get back that same day.
Yeah. So I was saying Ford is the very first one, but there's other automakers that will also gain access coming soon this spring. And Rivian's already announced that they're going to gain access in the month of March. So sometime in the next 30 days, spring actually happens on March 19th this year because it's a leap year. So I don't know if they're going to, I don't know when it's going to happen within the month. It might only happen after the 19th, but who knows? And after Rivian, we also have General Motors. Kind of big. I think they came on board the thing before Rivian, so I kind of think they might also happen this month as well. Because I think Tesla wanted to do it sort of in the order of
So that means
people.
GM is next then, right?
I would think so. Yeah, that's
I
what I kind of
assumed GM
expected.
was gonna be next.
They haven't really communicated anything about this yet. It's like
No.
nothing over there right now.
I think it's one of the things that Ford has done best, actually, is the communication. I think Jim Farley leads it because he's clearly an enthusiast and he likes to he's also brilliant with people. So they also wheel Jim out to talk to enthusiasts and owners clubs, and he's also, you know, because some CEOs just look stiff talking to, you know,
Sure.
members of the public. Not to be rude, but
Humans.
like the likes of you and I, human beings, you know, having things like empathy, you know, interpersonal skills. But I think he is such a regular guy that you could imagine just having a beer with. Oh, and by the way, I run a massive car company. But also they've really let people across the company speak on this. And I think that's so impressive that Ford trust their employees. Obviously, they all have like media training and stuff, and they know not to get sucked down rabbit holes of dodgy questions. But they've really either throughout the EV programs as well put their staff front and center, and they've just communicated it so well. And that's the frustration with GM, is that really only Mary Barra speaks, and normally it's in an official capacity of an event or, you know, a call or something. And so we know very little about what GM are doing with this.
Right.
And Jim's been so good, Farley, up front with this. I mean, he was posting on social media of him charging, you know, and I'm actually interviewing him in about 2 hours. I got one of only 2 interviews that Jim's going to do on this topic, and I grabbed one of them. So you could look that up on my channel soon. I'll hope to get it up at some point soon. But Pete's going to take off because he can't hear what's going on right now. I've got
Okay.
he's going to sit in the other room
right.
and get on his phone and listen. But I just wanted to introduce him and let him say hi to everybody.
Right.
And
Hey, Pete.
thanks for checking out that Supercharger. We'll be up there right after the show. I actually have to wait until Ford calls me and do the interview with Jim. Then we're going to shoot up there, and we're going to do all kind of testing with my Rivian, with my Bolt, with these other adapters. We're going to see what works.
Okay, guys.
All right.
See you later.
Cheers,
right.
Pete. See you.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, before we move on,
Tom?
I carry on.
Oh, Tom, did you swap your tires back to stock?
No, I have to drop that off after the podcast.
But just don't forget.
No. I have an appointment. I booked an 11
Should we
o'clock
tell everyone
appointment.
what we're doing?
I think we should, because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
almost
go
think
ahead.
it would be
Yeah, yeah.
cool
Oh, yeah,
if
yeah,
people
follow
meet
along.
us.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that's going to hold up the plan. But you
Yeah.
do
It
if
won't
you
hold
want
up the
if you
plan.
want to
We
lose.
plug, we unplug, and that's it. You know, they'll understand we got to go.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
almost
can
think it would
explain.
be helpful. All right, so Kyle and I are going to drive from New Jersey to Florida, 1,000 miles.
Right. So which part of Florida do we know yet? Fort Myers? I heard Fort Myers or possibly Jacksonville.
I don't know
Well,
where.
I think Jacksonville.
Yeah, so it's.
Okay.
I mapped it out. It's exactly. It's like 990 miles. From my house to there.
Yeah, we'll make it 1,000.
Yeah, we'll make it 1,000. It'll be 1,000-mile quote unquote race. Won't be a big race, but it kind of is a race because we're always competitive. And here's the thing: Kyle can only use superchargers.
Okay.
We really didn't decide this yet who was going to use what, but I assume
Well,
we want to use the superchargers.
I'm glad you decided that because
Yeah.
I was looking forward to an easy
Yeah.
trip. Thank you.
So Kyle can only use superchargers, and I can only use CCS stations. Probably Electrify America. I'll just make it one thing, and we're going to see who can get to Florida first. And Kyle has the same truck that I have, an F-150 Lightning, same trim. Lariat.
It was
Sa-
on
sa-
purpose. I gave
Yeah.
Ford the parameters of the truck I wanted to borrow, so it matched Tom's.
He even insisted on the same color. I don't know why, but that's Kyle. But you'll be able to tell which truck's which because I have my light bar tinted. So we're gonna drive down. We're gonna leave at some point Saturday. I don't know when. I still have no idea where I'm gonna stop. I haven't even looked at the network. I've been flying. I've been traveling and everything. I haven't planned this out at all. But along the route, if any of the followers happen to meet us at Superchargers and Electrify Americas, since I'm going to be taking Electrify America, I'm worried about the charging, but I'm more worried about the stations not being available because Kyle's going to roll up and have 10, 12 Superchargers at every stop. And I'm going to be fighting for like one of 3 working stations. So like,
If you're lucky.
if our followers, we could figure out, maybe I'll post my email or something. If you guys can just happen to be charging your car on a 350 kilowatt station for an hour before I pull up, I'd love it because then you can just pull out and I pull in. Now I'm not recommending you block anybody else's access or anything, but it would be great if I could just pull up. Be charging, of course, just don't charge at home that day and go plug in. But I don't really know how we could do that. It would be really difficult.
Are you gonna live stream? Or are you going to?
I'm sure Kyle's gonna.
keep up on
I don't
Twitter
know.
or something.
I don't,
probably won't.
We can Twitter update everything for sure.
Yeah.
I think
okay.
it's going to be an out of spec motoring video, of course, and then Tom will do stuff for his own channel. But I think actually has the most interesting story, because I think what makes sense, Tom, we didn't decide this ahead of time, is if you run CCS down, and I think you should open it up to any network, make it all public networks against Tesla, and then use Tesla on your way up. And then you'll have the exact same reverse network to network comparison.
True.
No, I think that's a plan. And on the way up, I'll use all 3 different adapters. I'll just play around with them and do that. So it should be fun. Honestly, I'm worried about my state of health because I am exhausted. I had an exhausting week in Sweden. It was great, but it was like 40 hours of travel for 12 hours on the ground or something. That it was brutal. And then came home, recorded. It was up to 1 o'clock doing my video, and I'm just beat. But we'll figure out. Oh yeah, Kyle mentioned before about do I have an appointment at the tire shop, because I'm running the BF Goodrich KO2s right now in my truck. We can't do a comparison with those, so I'm going to swap them to my stock tires today. So for the trip, it will be tire to tire, pretty fair comparison. Same vehicle. I might, my vehicle, I got 20,000 miles on mine. I've done a lot of DC fast charging. I might have 6 or 7 less kilowatt hour in the pack than Kyle's brand new Lightning has. So that's a little bit of a disadvantage. But it should be fun.
I haven't looked at the map yet, but I'm just pulling it up. All you do in your Tesla app is you go here and you go to charge your other EV, by the way. So let's just look at this together. So I am currently in San Francisco. So I got to look on the other side of the country over here. So this is the route that we're going to be taking. Oh, whoops. Let me get it on camera here. And it's looking pretty empty at the moment, but there we go. These are all the available ones. And obviously there's a bunch in the New York area. I'm just looking here. If we go south, let's have it populate down this way. There we go.
Yeah.
This is a big stretch. Look at this.
There's a big stretch there. One big
There's
stretch.
A couple big stretches. So this is from, let's just look here, Benson, North Carolina. Yeah, so basically North Carolina 95 is closed down. So I'm going to have to go from Virginia, Stony Creek, Virginia to Benson, and then do a huge stretch to Somerton, South Carolina. And then there's another stretch from Georgia into Florida. Let it populate here. Maybe that is populated. No, there's no way. They got to have
there's some stations down there, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I hope to hook up with you all too from Atlanta, because I'm going to be in Atlanta probably
but
Sunday
we're not
morning.
going through Atlanta.
Oh, right, but I can swing over to 75 or 95 or whatever from there, and kind of catch up with
great.
y'all.
Well, I think it's going to be, Tom and I are not going to be together, and we're not stopping to say, hey, at least I'm not.
Right.
We're here to win.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to bring my dad with me, which will be tons of fun. So he and I will be in my truck, and I'm really looking forward to the little road trip.
So, and I hadn't considered bringing someone because I thought we were going to be one-on-one. So maybe I'll see if somebody could take the ride with me and take a little bit of the load off driving. That might be
absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, get your head down, get some.
Yeah.
I would take my wife, but
take Meredith.
She's in Prague. She lands at 5 p.m. on Saturday. I don't know if that's
it's a bit late.
We're going to be gone by then.
Oh yeah.
Which of course she's not very happy that she's been in Prague for like a week, and like I'm leaving for 3 days the day she's arriving, and I'm like, oh, by the way, and I can't pick you up at the airport, so get an Uber home. So I'm gonna be in the doghouse.
You're
gonna
be in the doghouse for sure.
It won't be the first
Sleeping
time,
on the
guys.
couch.
Trust me, it won't be the first time.
But it's going to be a good story. I mean, we have access to the first bit of this network with the adapters. We got the same truck. Let's go show the actual benefits or not of this network, because both have plug-in charge, both should have the same experience. And in fact, my experience should be worse because Tom can just natively plug into the truck. I got to find this thing every time. So, it's going to be interesting.
So also, Kyle, we got to figure out where we're going to leave from. You want to leave from my house? We could charge 100% here.
I'm thinking that kind of makes sense. Or we make it even worse. We leave from like 50% at your house. Just to make
you
it
got
more
Tesla.
charging.
No, let's leave fully charged.
Yeah,
Makes
makes
sense.
sense.
There's going to be enough stops, Kyle. Let's leave fully
Wow.
charged, for Christ's
Yeah.
sake. Get me out of New Jersey before I got to stop once.
All right. So I just want to mention before we move on to that. So GM should get should get access to the Supercharger network super soon, as well as Volvo and Polestar. And in talking about Polestar, so Tom, Kyle has you beat on charging the Lightning on NACS first, but that was only because you had an incredible weekend up in the northern tip of Sweden in the Arctic Circle to drive the Polestar 3. So for those who don't know, the Polestar 3 is a premium SUV coming to the U.S. this year. Typically with new vehicles, automakers hold a first drive program and invite dozens of journalists to come drive the new vehicle, but this wasn't that. This was a different thing. So I don't know. Why don't you tell us what happened?
Yeah, so I had charge jealousy of watching Kyle plug in while I was on the flight coming home. We haven't talked about this, but I know he was jealous. Don't shake your head. No,
I think you won this.
he was jealous.
Yeah.
Because he is such a Polestar fan. And
Yeah.
I got to rip it in the Polestar 3 on frozen lakes in the Arctic Circle and just drive into snowbanks, slide it sideways. They're like, you can't hurt it. You know, you're on a lake, and we had studded tires. You know what an interesting thing, Kyle, was? All the engineers told me they used the Michelin studded tires. They said they're better than the Hackers for on their vehicles.
For performance,
Because I was shocked when I saw that. I was like, you don't have the Nokians? And they said, believe it or not, these Michelins, they said these Michelins and the Nokians are by far the two best, tires for this weather. It's not even close. Like if you have to have these, the other, all the other brands are like way down as far as their testing shows, but they were studded tires. And maybe I'll get a set to test. These were pre-production. So I didn't get to do things like, ADAS and, Android Auto and all that stuff. A lot of stuff didn't work on the vehicles. This was it was an Arctic drive is what they called it. It was to show how well their vehicles do in extreme cold weathers. 2 weeks before we were there, it was negative 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Now there was a heat wave when we got there, so it was around zero. So it really wasn't, to me, it was kind of like New Jersey, at its worst,
Okay.
So it wasn't that bitter when we were there, but everything was frozen. And so we got to just rip it around the track and really push it. And, Kyle would have loved this because, he's, that's Kyle's wheelhouse. It's not my wheelhouse. I enjoy running around a track and sliding sideways and, doing all kind of crazy stuff like that. But Kyle would have you couldn't have wiped the smile off his face because they were just like, here, do whatever the hell you want. You can't hurt the car. Just, test the limits. And my first run, I was in the snow, but I got better as the day went on. Honestly, I never drove on a lake. I never drove on a frozen lake, let alone on a racetrack on a frozen lake. Who has? Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised. I was going to say if Kyle has. So, it was really, really, really a good. The Polestar 3, it's so funny. We go on these drives, and I so often say this, and maybe now I want one. You know what I mean? It was like I said that about Lucid Gravity too, but it really, it performed amazingly. And they had both the performance version and the dual motor all-wheel drive. They were all all-wheel drive. It doesn't come in a two-wheel drive version. Right. We both of them just ripped. And then there was a straightaway where I got up to 190 kilometers an hour. I haven't done the conversion, but that's got to be what, like 110?
110.
No, it's more than that.
15?
Is it? Yeah, I don't know. It felt like 200 miles an hour. On ice.
Well, 200 is 124.
Yeah.
Yes, 124. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well,
so just short of that. So 115, 120.
Yeah. No. Yeah. This isn't the straightaway run. This was just me. Actually, I should have done it later in the day when I was getting better. This was I wanted to get the content, so I put this. This was like my first or second run.
This is awesome. I would love this.
around the track. Yeah, and
Oh my God.
yeah, it was so much fun. And
So how was the balance of the car? Was it pretty rear drive? Could you drift it, or is it, because Polestar 2 is very 50-50 neutral? What's the balance of this one?
so you could drift it somewhat with stability control on, but click it off, and you can totally. And that's Kyle, you
this
probably
guy's
know
great.
Yoakum. Yeah, he is a genius. I got 20 minutes in the video with him and me just talking, and him talking how they set up stability control and torque vectoring and everything. So yeah, I hit the jackpot getting Yoakum.
If I knew you were with Joaquim, I would have said if you could get me the Polestar 1 chassis setup that he uses, because I'm still trying to dial in my
I was with the guy that owned your car. What's his name? Gregor?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was there too, and he was like, "That's my car that Kyle bought." You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, and but he left. He was only there for the first day.
So even though I bought his car, they didn't invite me to Sweden. I mean, come on. This is such an out of spec trip.
It was, but in Polestar's defense, 3 people were invited. That's it. Eric Tigwell from Motor Trend. Got Andrew, I forget what his last name is, from like a big EV news outlet in Canada. You know, cold weather. So and me. That's it.
Okay.
Nobody else got invited. So, you know, and I even said that to the program manager. I'm like, you know, Kyle, like, this is right up, he's pissed. And they're like, we know he's not upset. We know he's upset about not getting invited. They're like, but just tell him, look, we had 3 slots, you know, and we think long and hard about who's going to get invited and so forth. So, you know,
we're still tiny. It's okay.
It would have been you're not tiny. You're huge, but they have reasons sometimes beyond what we think about, not just about the total views that the video gets. Like, you know, I've talked to media people in other companies about, they're like, sometimes it takes us a month to select like 12 people. Like we have meetings on it. It's not just like, oh yeah, this, you know, and they have like strategic reasons. I think it's all crazy, but they do. And, they knew you were not happy about it, so let's put it that way. But that's me getting back at you for taking.
Yeah, honestly, I would have swapped that
charge
in a heartbeat.
I think, you know, listen, I don't want to take anything away because this was an awesome trip. But I was not happy that I wasn't able to get in charge first, that you got that. So this is my way of rubbing it in a little bit. I'll send you some of my videos because I have more videos that I haven't even downloaded yet. I came home last night. I've just been working on this. I've got videos like of just sliding sideways around turns and everything. I'm going to put it all in the video, and I'll try to make Kyle as jealous as possible because I'm jealous that he posted that video about the first NACS charge. So
there we go.
Got to get back at him somewhere.
That's fair. Yeah.
So thumbs up for the Polestar 3 though. You had a good feeling about it.
Really good feeling about it. You know, I mean, the price is tough.
The price is high.
You know, it's $83,600 for the dual version,
right?
A dual motor, long range, and $89,600. You know, for the performance. You know, you get any kind of option. Even with destination and handling, it's over $90,000 for the performance version. Do you get a high performance, fantastically engineered, you know, machine, you know, a work of art machine? Yes. You know, Polestars. I love Polestars. I just love sitting in them. When I arrived after my second flight, they gave me a Polestar 2 to drive to this destination, which was like 3 hours. And I drove 3 hours on ice roads, you know, on the Polestar 2. And it just, you know, even that I was having fun with. And Polestar just really does a good job engineering their vehicles.
Nice.
And this is no, you know, it's not different than the other vehicles. They're fantastic vehicles. They're going to be making it in South Carolina. It'll qualify on a purchase for half the federal tax credit, but if you lease it, you get the full federal tax credit. So, you know, you can save a little bit there. That's my only concern is the price. If this thing could have been in the 60s, you know, or 70,000, you know, it would have, everyone would buy them because it's a wonderful vehicle. And I did some DC fast charging too. That's in my video. I couldn't believe it. This tiny little town. We're in Yukmuk, and yeah, and
what's that?
That's Chris's video.
This is Chris's video.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tom's like, hang on, that's not me.
Yeah.
Tom's like, how did I get so?
Oh yeah, I'm talking about U.S. journalists that were.
Yeah.
Because I'm like. I'm like, that's not Eric, and it's
Yeah.
not me. It's not
Well,
Andrew.
it's so funny.
You
I
know,
was on the phone
and-
with Eric the other day, actually talking about some stuff, and that's cool that you got to spend some time with him. I really like Eric.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it was a good trip, but they really nailed it with it. The cost is the only thing, in my opinion, that's going to hold it back. Polestar's a performance brand. This is a performance vehicle, and we were talking about in this little town of Jokkmokk, Sweden, out in the middle of nowhere. I walk out of the hotel when I get there. I'm like, I'm gonna go a little walk and walk around this cool little town with all these houses with 5 feet of snow hanging off the edges of them and everything.
Nice.
And I turn the corner. There's an Ionity station with 9 Ionity stations in this town of 1,000 people. And I walk on the
Awesome.
next block. There's a supercharger with 10
Yeah.
superchargers. I'm
Yeah.
like, there's 20 DC fast chargers. I don't think 20 families live here. You know what I mean? And it's just such charger jealousy of how, I don't know how far I have to drive from my house to get 20 DC fast chargers. And that's just how they, it's just better in the Nordic states. They have the infrastructure, and that's why there's so many EVs out there, because they're easy. It's easy to charge.
Absolutely. And
What
it is-
did Chris Riffa say? Did any of you guys see that?
As he said, is he trading
Chris is a good
selling
friend
his
of ours. I
Taycan?
think Martin knows
Or
him as
Polestar
well. He has
3,
a Taycan Cross Turismo. He's now, I think, just going YouTube full time. Has a Norwegian channel. Subscribe to that. And the next car purchase, we don't know what he's going to get next. Maybe he is a Polestar guy.
He's
So
saying he's selling his
yeah.
Polestar CT or his Taycan CT for a Polestar 3.
Yeah, he loved the
So I guess he
Polestar
liked
3.
it.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
was, it was a great experience.
It looks
That thing-
great.
I
Yeah.
was shocked at how well it handled, but I didn't have a reference. Like Kyle's driven on lakes. I didn't really have a reference. But the thing is, I was on a relatively tight track going 70 to 80 kilometers an hour on turns with stability control on, and I didn't have to work. The vehicle was just taking me through the turns. And, most people don't want to be sliding sideways on turns. They don't want that. They want the opposite. They want the vehicle to just do the work for them, and so they're safe with their families. And and then if you want to do that, you click the stability control off. And I was honestly shocked at how fast I could drive, and the vehicle was composed and not kicking out and just pulling me through the turns. As long as you do the right thing. You have to kind of know how to drive, accelerate through the turns and not jam on the
Right.
brakes when you think you're going too fast. You got to let the car take through. But if you let the car take you through around the curves and turns, it did it painlessly. It was just as simple as anything. It was very easy to drive at relatively high speeds on ice, and that really impressed me. Maybe other vehicles do it too. Like I said, I don't have experience, but I was really surprised at how well this thing drove on ice.
Well, that's been the magic of Polestar 2, really safely tuned, really nice, but there's never been that drifty character with Polestar 2. Now with the new rear, primary axle, maybe there is. But in Polestar 1, in my car, and in Polestar 2, like Max's, there's no ESC off. There's just ESC Sport. Were you able to go full off on stability control in this one, or just turn it way down?
It says off, but Joachim told me that it's not fully off. It's mostly off, and it felt mostly off to me. I mean, the totally different, completely different driving characteristics with it on and with it off, and that's why I ended up in the snow in the beginning, when I was like, okay, yeah, this, I've got to drive it, before it was driving for me, but now I got to do some work.
All right. So I just want to mention too, is just in case people don't know, the Polestar 3, it has an EPA range of 315 miles with the performance pack. 0 to 60 is 4.5 seconds, so 517 horsepower. It runs on the Android Auto OS. And like Martin said at the beginning, production has started in China already, and it will go into production here in South Carolina, Charleston later this year. And Polestar went through some things last week, I think it was, where Volvo gave over financial responsibility, kind of the company, back to Geely. But since then, Polestar has also secured like $1 billion in external funding. So things looking okay for the immediate future. It's still a young brand, really, but this is like their second product coming. So they're not necessarily like out of the woods yet. It's like new companies are hard, and but yeah, it looks like they got the products at least lined up. So I always think that's the thing. You have a good product, and the business will come. Build it and they will come.
I thought that was the interesting thing about the way that was reported, in that Polestar was always an offshoot of Volvo. Volvo's been supporting Polestar, and if you've driven a Polestar, it's all Volvo bits, and that's all. That's a good thing. And then so the parent company decided to let Polestar stand on its own 2 feet a little bit more, so less under the wing of Volvo. Volvo's business unit won't, because it's loss making at the moment, and Polestar say that they'll be break even soon, so that takes that liability off of Volvo's books, and then Geely will, the parent company will, like all of the Geely brands, and it will be a separate vertical within that. Like you say, Dom, $1 billion of funding injected into the Polestar this week. And yet, what's so interesting about the way that any EV news is reported right now, and we've discussed this, we know why this is, because legacy media, a lot of media need your clicks. And negative EV news, whether you're an EV fan or an EV hater, it seems they've discovered this formula that people will click on those articles. And so that was, all of it was reported as like, Polestar's going, Volvo's pulling out of Polestar will be the next one to go bust, along with Rivian and Lucid. And you see these and you think, why is EV news in the last 12 months being reported so negatively, not just by the mainstream media, but I see our colleagues in the motoring press falling for it as well, and going along with this negativity. And whether it's the data, whether it is how many EVs are being sold around the world, whether it's the growth story, whether it's this incredible news from Ford yesterday, let's give them their weekend in the sun and their moment in the sun, and then the others can join, and GM and Polestar adding to the those adapters. There's just so much good news around EVs, and that's another one. Polestar is this incredible bit of Volvo that's always been interesting and performance-y and racy, and they've made a car company out of it, and that's an amazing success story. Like whatever we talked about on last week's podcast, like Rivian's quarterly revenue, like Dom, you told me it was something billion in the quarter. That's their revenue. And where did they come from?
Billions. Yeah,
they've gone from 0 to that
or something. It was crazy. Yeah.
I know it took Tesla 17 years, but they went from 0 to that. And come on, these are huge success stories in the battery industry in America. Hundreds of thousands of jobs are being created in the US battery industry alone from new factories. And so it's amazing how that Volvo Polestar thing got reported so negatively all over the place. And I see it as the opposite. So
right.
The Polestar reps that I talked to, and of course they're going to put positive spins on everything. We're just kind of like, look, it's our time. It's our time to walk. Volvo's been holding our hands and helping us through this process, but like a child that, it's time for them to go off on their own. We're at that point now where we're ready to go off on our own, and Geely is going to support us, and we're comfortable with where we are right now, and it's time for us to have our own identity and not just be referred to as a sub brand of Volvo, which a lot of people called them. So we'll see what happens.
Sorry, I'm just doing a little bit of math here.
EVKX, can you please stop giving us money to talk about baguette holders? Because it's a brilliant story, by the way.
Yeah, we'll talk about it without money. That is the best new car feature on the planet.
I'll happily talk about the baguette holder. That's
about $10 in US funds. The Nokia
yes,
Corona.
thank you, EVKX. So yes, one of the best videos that I saw on this. I mean, obviously all the videos around the Roundup 5 are great, and we love Johnny Smith and Late Break Show. But Autogiful, for some reason, he was particularly frisky in this video, and I don't know why, but it's and I think it's the cameraman.
So
Thomas was just, it's partly like one of my best friends married a German girl, and Germans have a brilliant sense of humor. It's such a cliche that Germans don't have a sense of humor, but Germans have a very particular sense of humor. They love the British. Many of them love the British sense of humor as well, like Monty Python and stuff. But he was particularly frisky on this one, like innuendo, and he had the baguette holder, and he's talking about length of baguettes, and I'm like, Right, Thomas, you doing okay? It's a great video. It was laugh out loud funny, but because he's so deadpan, like he just delivers it as it is. He knows what he's saying. But anyway, yeah, Renault 5 does come with all the goodness, and it's on a brilliant platform, and it's going to be a cheap, small city car. Renault 4, Renault 5, and the platform developed alongside Nissan and Mitsubishi. But it does come where the gear stick would be with a baguette holder, and they're embracing their Frenchness, and that's cool. And it's
Bring
not
back the baguettes. I love it.
Absolutely, and it is if you think I'm being sort of leaning on cultural stereotypes, I mean, we've holidayed in France many times, and it's just a thing. Like, you go out in the morning and you go down to your local bakery, and a lot of those local bakeries are obviously there's sort of chains are expanding and franchises and stuff, but so many small bakeries do still exist, and it's a thing. You go and get your baguette in the morning, so yes, it exists, and it's in the new Renault 5, and I think it's brilliant. There it is. Because why wouldn't you want? I mean, that's the perfect place, I suppose, for Kyle's Starbucks. Equally,
right?
Looks too small actually for that giant Starbucks that you drink.
I'm still waiting for a cannoli holder for New Jersey people.
Cannoli holder. All right. So we need to talk about something. Oh, right. So Kyle, let's we should probably move along a bit. Kyle, you drove something last week. Not a new model, but something that's seen a big improvements to the powertrain. And of course, we're talking about the 2024 Volkswagen ID4. You drove this car in Europe about 5 months ago. So this car is just about to show up in dealerships here now in the US in this month. I was told this month. So maybe remind us of all what we're getting and what it's like to drive it on the Angeles Crest Highway.
Yeah, and the least important part of this story is the new powertrain. It is all infotainment, software, all of that's the big stuff. Because most ID4 owners drive around at 2 miles an hour in the left lane, and then they charge to 100% for an hour. So, this is the ID4 owner lifestyle. They didn't need more power. No ID4 owner said it needed more power. But it's got a lot more power. It's like 2 seconds 0 to 60 faster in the base trim, spec for spec, and then really more efficient. That's great. So your 100% charge at an EA station will get you even farther down the road. But a lot has changed here. So ID4 came out in 2021, I think it was, and they had the first edition. 21 and 22 for the US market were German-built cars. They had a 77 kilowatt-hour usable pack with the 130-ish kilowatt peak charging speed. It was like minimum acceptability. I drove one across the country. Great driver assistance, really nice car. I always liked the ID4. I know a lot of people hated it, but I personally loved it. And the infotainment wasn't great, but once you just like throw up CarPlay or whatever, it kind of stayed out of your way. And ultimately, we've had some big improvements for 2024, especially in the world of infotainment. So suspension, chassis tuning, that's all pretty much the same. But we now have up to 335 horsepower. It's 0-60 under 5 seconds. It's not a racer. I mean, it would be so cool if they did an ID4R or an ID3R. Would be really cool. But for just a Model Y long range competitor, it seems to be a great package until you hear the price. I'm going to start with the price, and then I'm going to get through the updates because all of this needs to be taken into context. The one I drove, which is pretty much probably that same one pictured there, I drove an all-wheel drive with the Pro S package, which is the middle spec, not even the top spec with the good sound system and the big wheels. I drove a middle spec one, which is what we're looking at, and it was $53,000 and a bit dollars, which is $3,000 more than a Model Y Performance.
Right. It is eligible for the full $7,500 tax credit.
It was a Tesla Model Y.
Right. So, okay. So it's still, right.
It's still the same gap.
Right. It is, except.
And Volkswagen says it's the only foreign automaker to get the full $7,500 tax credit. But I just don't know how that's true because the Mercedes EQE SUV gets it.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it's built in Alabama. It's under 80 grand, and I'm pretty sure it gets the full 7,500.
I don't recall seeing that on the list.
Someone will correct me.
Yeah, I don't know that it's on the list of cars.
Okay,
I don't
well then maybe they're right,
it.
but it should be on the list at least. Because
unless there's some battery components that maybe are not from.
Yeah, but that was like in the battery factory for that vehicle power or that vehicle plant, and it was like right down the road. I mean, the cells may not come from there, but the
Where
final
the
assembly.
minerals, so I mean, everything's like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
minerals
yeah.
where they source all that kind of stuff. It's all
Certainly. So anyway, either way, it gets the $7,500 tax credit. Okay, so the car has gotten faster, which it didn't need to be, and the pricing stayed the same, which it needed to go down. So what's going on here? The lease deal should be good. And I think that's where, and talking to our local Ed Carroll Volkswagen dealership in Fort Collins, 80+% of them are on lease. And almost all of them are leased, and almost all of them are from older people. So that's one thing to keep in mind. In terms of software and things like that, it is incredibly snappy. Same system basically out of the ID7. It now supports great route planning. It will get you to a charging station all the way down to 3%, tell you to charge to 50, 60, 70, unplug, get to the next one, dead. Love that. It also has plug-in charge and on-route battery preconditioning and manual preconditioning. And it even gives you a little bar to tell you how I guess preconditioned you are and what the current fast charging performance of the vehicle would be if you were to plug it in right now. It's really just like Taycan. They got all the stuff.
I have a screenshot of Björn Newland doing that in the ID7, which I'll try and find it in time. But as Kyle says, it's so cool because it says, when you arrive at your destination, you will charge at 155 kilowatts. If you precondition now, we might get you 170. Hit this button to start and hit this button to stop. And
nice.
It's very Tesla. This
isn't really it. It's actually better than Tesla in this regard because Tesla doesn't really tell you this. But here you can see it was suggesting I could get 69 kilowatts at that time, and you can see this bar. I only had a little bit warmer I could go, but it wasn't enough for it to kick on the manual preconditioning button for me. So
yeah, it's very cool.
Really good.
That's awesome.
Yep. Very pleased there. Also, just in terms of vehicle functions, it's got the backlit control logic now for the climate control and volume sliders. So it's like just nicely refined. To me, it's an infotainment. It's an HMI update. There's the optimization on the rapid charging.
And so you can start and stop that. That start battery heating, this is a still from Björn's video, turns into stop battery heating. If you think, oh, hang on a minute, I'm using up too much juice just getting it ready. Very, very customizable, total control, buried deep in that, which is great. If you don't want to use this, that's brilliant. And if you do want to use it, that's brilliant too. And thank you, VW, for just listening to the community. And I know implementing this isn't the work of a moment. And this is probably us whinging 3 years ago on this podcast about, oh, I wish things did work like this. And that's the lead time. And I'm sure some stuff is quick. But this is like to see a company like VW, which,
struggled,
has had software issues, at times. Yeah. This is brilliant. This is so good.
Yeah, it's great to see, man. Oh,
it's the best implementation I've seen yet. And that is one of the things that I talked to Polestar about. You can't manually turn on preconditioning. And,
no.
They had us up there for this, this Arctic drive and everything. And, when we started talking about preconditioning, they said, oh yeah, the car will precondition, automatically. And I was like, okay, well, that's great. If it knows it's going to a DC fast charger. But if I know where the DC fast charger is, I don't want to put it in my nav. Let me just hit a button and turn it on, and I was like, why can't it do that? And everybody kind of just like looked at each other like, we don't know. But we'll get you the answer. And I haven't gotten the answer yet. And they promise it the next day, which this discussion now reminds me to shoot an email before I do my article for Inside EVs on that and get an answer. What's the reasoning for not allowing manual preconditioning? I don't understand. I don't get it. I think they're afraid people are going to do it at the wrong time, or just
it deserves a whole
Volkswagen
topic.
Did.
But I'm not the biggest fan of manual preconditioning, only because I think you have the opportunity to lose a lot of efficiency on your drive. Yep. And so if you can tell it you're going to a fast charger, leave it up to the systems to, at the last minute, time it so it just gets to the temperature as you arrive. And you don't want your battery preconditioned to a fixed temperature for most charging curves. You might want it warmer if you're arriving at higher state of charge. Some vehicles like EGMP stuff, though, they just always take full power if the minimum cell temperature is above 21 degrees Celsius, regardless of state of charge and anything. So there it kind of makes sense. We have it on our EV9. That's cool. And I just time it so it warms up in time. But ultimately, we're installing DC charging at the office, and we're about to put in a real juicy charger that we haven't told anyone about to do our charge curve logs inside. That's not going to be a public charger. There's no way I can tell the car to precondition. And the next closest charger to me is 20 miles away. And the car is going to say, oh, you got 20 miles of driving. We're not going to precondition it right now. So manual conditioning is an important thing for our kind of testing.
And you know what I really like about it, Kyle, the way with the implementation that Volkswagen has done, for the educational reason, people will begin to understand how this works. Whereas, people just don't understand now. I'm sure you've had a ton of times people plug in, an EV in the middle of the winter, and they're like, why am I only getting 50 kilowatts? And they just don't know. And this, without trying, teaches them like, oh, so if the battery's warmer, if I warm it up, I can charge faster. And I think that's part of the whole learning curve that we need over the course of the next 6 or 7 years, because most people, it's their first EV. That's another part of the reasons why I love this, because it's going to help people understand how this works.
Yeah, and on the Polestar, for anyone wondering, I've worked out it is very consistent. It does work very well, but the only way I can force it to do it is on the app. And so if you set your departure time on the app, it will precondition if it's cold enough before you leave. That's when you don't leave the house with any kind of little snowflake icon on the screen, and that you've got full performance from the battery. But like that's different. So if I show you on the app, like that is different to climate. So climate's up here, and that's when you precondition the car to be nice and warm inside. But down here, you schedule the charge. And so I've just been used to scheduling the charge to finish when I'm about to go on a journey, and then the battery's toasty. But it shouldn't be like this kind of working out how to hack the system. And then when you're in the car and you navigate somewhere, it'll put in, whether you like it or not, it'll put in stops. You can remove them, but that's fine. But we shouldn't have to do this kind of hacks. It should be much more like that VW screenshot, if I bring that up again from Björn's video, which is just, hey, this is the speed. When you arrive, we think you'll get this speed. And that way, if it's really cold and you're about to DC fast charge and you see it's going to say 75, it will start to teach you, like, hang on, that's different to what I had yesterday. And you'll know why.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, nice work to Volkswagen. Really nice work to Volkswagen on the software. The ID4 is a really nice package now. It's finally usable. It's finally, I can put my mom in there and she can get down the road and it will plug and charge. You don't have to fiddle with apps. It's a really nice upgrade. And in fact, Alyssa's mom drives an ID4. She's on her second one and she does huge mileage. And this is someone who doesn't even know how to turn on her cell phone. And she has managed to get across in the early cars. So I don't want to make it seem like it's impossible.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But it was I was tech support for a long time. So at least with this, I think I would have to be less tech support.
Right. And it has bigger range now. So you maybe need to charge.
I think it's minor.
Less. Okay.
Yeah, same battery. Oh, that's something we should talk about.
82 kilowatt hours. 82. I have 82 and 84 in different places.
No, they're saying gross capacity 82. It's still 77 usable.
Oh, okay. Because I saw 77 in some places and then 82 and then 84. Yeah. I've lost what was going on last night.
And the ID7 and the new bars do get the bigger, but it's only bigger by a few kilowatt hours. And so it's just enough to throw you off. Usable. It's like that usable or gross. So it's not like an obvious difference. So it can catch you out.
Yeah, but Volkswagen used to state in usable capacity and now they've gone to gross capacity, which is
really
confusing. Right. Yeah, which is of no use to any owner because all I care about is what I can pull out of the battery.
The EPA document has the 84, I believe. And
well, they must be using a weird voltage calculation there because
it's 350 volts.
Yeah, but it's technically rated at 8277. And there's two battery suppliers. Right. In 2020. Oh, the other thing is the base car gets no updates. They were just like, if you buy the small battery, you get the old infotainment, the old motor.
Small screen?
Really? The infotainment is the same?
I think it's the small screen,
It doesn't even get the new infotainment.
Wow.
That makes no sense to it. This is when you go, okay, what is going on?
It has to be on every vehicle. It's such
oh my God.
a better system. Wow,
I
didn't know that.
Yeah, so okay, but there's a lot more to dig into here a little bit. So on 2023 model year, this is the first year of Chattanooga, US localized production ID4. There was an SK and an LG battery. And you never knew which one you were going to get until it came to delivery day and it said it on the window sticker. And you were getting pretty much the same capacity, but you were either getting 190 kilowatt peak or 130 kilowatt peak charging. And you just didn't know. And that to me was the biggest scam of the century. That was insane.
That's
so now everything gets the SK better charging one. Okay. So if you get a 2024 model year, you no longer need to check the window sticker. They all come with the better charging battery.
Man.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know. So the price is only really the big issue here. And
someone says I'm incorrect, but I confirmed this with Volkswagen. So tell me how I'm incorrect. I'd really like to know because I talked to the product manager of ID4.
It says VW software doesn't.
They bumped the
LG.
That's
different. That's different.
Both SK and LG can charge to 190 kilowatt.
Whereas Mark says LG was 150, got bumped up to 150. Says, "Man, this is it shouldn't be this confusing."
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe the product manager, the product manager for ID4 didn't know the difference between kilowatt and kilowatt hour. So I'm not sure. I just had to throw that out there. Not to be mean. Not to be mean.
Know.
Not to be mean. But and someone says at least on his 2021 they bumped it to 150. I heard they were getting a bump, but I didn't think to 190.
Right. I guess. Yeah. Let's see some pictures. I guess, and
Yeah, but if it got bumped to 190, then I got to retest that battery. So
that's
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which is the way that it should always go down to the minimum number. So I know it would hobble some cars, but it shouldn't be a 2-class system where you just wait to see delivery day. So
all right.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, my fingers are crossed. Just so the prices, the dealers put some markdowns on it to help make it more competitive price wise. Because you get the ID4, the 2023 is pretty competitive now. I think at a lot of dealers, is like way below MSRP. And actually, if you go to the Volkswagen website, I think they're really pushing a big lease deal for their 2023, probably trying to clear out that inventory. But yeah, so. We got some time left. Kyle, I just want to hit really quickly. You had a video out this week comparing the two different Kia EV9s, and it's like a super popular vehicle with 3 rows. And I just thought we could touch on this super quick. So you did like an efficiency test with Jordan. You had you tell us what you had, the GT line and the Wind?
No, light long range. It's our car. So we have our own EV9, which is a big battery, rear drive. It's an out-of-spec tester. And then we had a press car from Kia, which is a GT line, all-wheel drive. And anyway, we just put them both together. We did a efficiency comparison. There was almost no difference between them. Very, very little. So it just shows that I still can't figure out why in EPA cycles, Hyundai, Kia, Genesis cars show a huge gap between all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive when they're doing a front motor disconnect. And it shouldn't impact the range at that point at all, other than a couple 100 pounds, maybe a few miles over a full drive cycle. That makes no sense to me. And in the real world, they were pretty much the same. And we had the least efficient and the most efficient because we had other spec differences too to further separate the gap. And they were so close to each other in efficiency.
Right. You've done a range test with the all-wheel drive already, right?
On both of them.
Right. Yeah, I know you have done the rear-wheel drive. So just remind me how close the all-wheel drive got to its range number, EPA range number?
Well, Dom, it's difficult to do it that way because we ran them on separate days, which is why we ran these both on the same day.
Right.
Because our 70 mile per hour tests are influenced by outside conditions, of course. So it gives you an idea in that specific environment. And they were not run in, I don't think, identical environments, but there was like 20 miles or something difference between the two cars.
Right. I was just thinking not so much comparing the two cars together, but just like the all-wheel drive with its EPA figure.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Jordan did all that stuff. So I think it was 258, 260 he did, and it's rated for 275 or something like this.
Okay. So it's just below the EPA number, so that's not bad.
Yeah.
And that's close to with the rear-wheel drive as well then. Because
it's close to the rear-wheel drive.
Rear-wheel drive got quite close to its EPA number as well, right?
I don't think it did. The EPA is over 300. I don't think it was. I think it was 270 or 280.
Was it that low? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
we have it all on our website, outofspecstudios.com. You can pull up all the charts.
Here we go.
So anyone's
Jordan's
curious.
right here.
Yeah.
286 on light long compared to 304 EPA. Thank you, Jordan.
That's close.
Yeah, that's not so bad. Anyway, I
it's
just
still
want to
a
hit that real
big-
quick.
It's a big SUV 3-row that can't do 300 miles on the highway, which is
Right.
not great.
Right. I mean, with
100
the
kilowatt hour pack. I mean, it's not the most efficient thing. It is a brick, but it's like maybe it should have been 130 kilowatt hours. I think you need a car in that category on a nice day at 70, which isn't even that fast. Most people drive faster than 70 in America to do
Right.
300 miles on the highway.
right. So we're going to see that, I guess, with the Gravity, but that's still a little ways away, and that's going to be at just above the price of the top spec of EV9 optioned out, basically.
And that's where that will start. So we're not sure what the
Right.
range figure will be for the base Gravity.
True. Right. So let's move along real quick. I wanted to hit this real quick, fast. Tom, you had a charger review this week. The EVIQ. I don't know how to pronounce this. EVIQO, right behind
Everybody,
you.
so many people were like, I'm so glad for your review. Just so now I know
EVIQO.
how to pronounce the damn thing. It's not a good name in my opinion. So it's EVIQO. It stands for EVIQ Company, which they're making high IQ EV chargers. So that was the basis of the name. So yeah, it's right behind me. 48 amp unit. Comes hardwired. I mean, comes with a NEMA 1450, so it comes out of the box to deliver 40 amps. But you could hardwire it. I went through all that in a video. It actually surprised me. Did very well. Scored very high. It actually got the highest score I've ever given on the charger rater.
Really?
It got a higher score than the Tesla Universal Wall Connector and the Emporia unit on the
Wow.
the charger rater, not on my personal score. And that's why I give two different scores. The interesting thing is, I spoke to the CEO of this company, and he's been asking me to review it for a while now. He sent me it a while ago, and I've just been backlogged. And he's a fan of my channel. He's been watching my reviews. He said during our whole, engineering phase of designing this charger, we used your rating systems as a basis of what people want and need in chargers. So it didn't surprise me that it broke my system, the score, because he literally designed it to break my system, and which is kind of cool. But then I, give my personal score and brought down the overall score a little bit. Not that I didn't like it, but I was almost like, I almost got to knock the score down a little bit because, he cheated, but give him credit. They went out and designed it to do well in all my testing things and to have the options and things that I say, I wish the charger did this and I wish it did that. And he's like, oh, well, the reason why it does this is because, you said it. The only thing he said was, he goes, I just wish we would have integrated a little LED light in the connector holster, because you always say that you'd love to have some sort of a light so that it's easy to plug it, holster it when it's a dark area, but which he doesn't have. Overall scored really well. Final score 4.55 stars out of 5. Really good. Final score. It got like a 4.9 on the charger rater, and very well built unit too. I was surprised about the robust build characteristics of it. I think this is going to hold up well. It's a good unit.
Good cold weather cable.
What's that?
Good cold weather cable.
Yeah, it did. The cold weather cable did fine. It didn't do great. So I didn't give it any extra points. And some of my ratings obviously is subjective. I don't have a way to measure, okay, this cable gets that extra point. It's just how it feels in my hand. And, admittedly, because it was killing everything else, I didn't give it that extra point in the cold weather cable test. It was borderline. And I say that in my review, I'm like, it performed maybe good enough for an extra point, but if he really designed this to score well, he could have given it a little bit better cable and I would have got the point. So he didn't get a point there, but it did well. It's fine for cold weather use. The cable performed admirably. It has a great, really solid rubberized connector, which I'm a connector geek. You grab that thing, 300-400 times a year, the connector or more. So it should feel good in your hands. It should feel well made and heavy and rubberized and not like a cheap, flimsy plastic thing that you feel like it's not going to last long. Overall, really good, solid unit.
Right on. Oh, what's the price point?
And it's
on that?
$399. That was one of the best parts about it.
Ooh,
You know, for a 48 amp unit, you know, with a 25-foot long cable, safety certified, Energy Star rated, NEMA 4, actually IP66 enclosure. What really killed me on that was the warranty. This is where I hit them the hardest. Only a 2-year warranty. Most of these charging equipment comes with a 3-year warranty. But here's the thing. They'll give you a 3-year warranty.
Right.
Doesn't cost you anything. Okay. So I know Dom's like, but you said 2-year warranty. Yes, you can buy a 3rd year for $100, or you can get a free 3rd year warranty if you send in pictures of yourself with the unit installed in your house. I don't like that. I just spent $400 on your product. Don't ask me to dance to get another year warranty. You know what I mean? Like, don't make me stand there and be like, you know, to get an extra warranty.
I'm the same way.
Not cool, EVIQO. Not cool. So, and that's another probably reason why I took them down a notch or 2 in my final rating. Little things like that bother me, you know, and you know, when I offer my final rating, there's some things I don't even talk about. I look at how they advertise on their website, if it's misleading. You know, if there's sometimes they have phrases and they talk about how it will charge faster than other chargers. I don't like that. You know, no, it doesn't charge faster than other chargers. I'm not saying they did this, but you know, a lot of the ads insinuate that it's safety certified when the connector is safety certified. And when I see that, when it looks slimy, I call them out. And they actually had something in their website that I didn't like. And before I even did the review, I contacted them and I'm like, I just want to give you a heads up. That's not cool. And they're like, it will be changed within an hour. And it was. They changed the website and took it off, you know, so, but you know, those are the things that all come into these, you know, I'm so geeky with these reviews, guys. It takes me like 2 weeks to do these reviews, dozens and dozens of clips. And they're like the worst viewed videos on my channel, you know, because people aren't necessarily, you know, as interested in this as they are a Tesla NACS connector. I lose money making these reviews, honestly, because so much effort I put into it. Like, you know, Kyle will tell you, you got to make a review quick. You got to bust it out, get it up, and move on to the next one. I'm stuck for 2 hours in my 2 weeks in my garage making these reviews, but it's part of what I do. So right. You know, I try to make them really thorough. But what I'm going to start doing now, and I know we got to move on, is in addition to my hour-long thorough review, the following week, I'm going to put out a 10-minute condensed version of it. So you don't have to watch the hour-long review, but you'll get that first. And then I'll spend some time editing it down and put out a 10-minute, like, you know, synopsis of the previous review.
Okay, just real quick, we have to move. We have to leave really soon. But I just want to mention, Urban's asking, Kyle, when are you testing the BYD Seagull? If you haven't seen it, there is a video on the Autoline YouTube channel that you should go and check out. It's our friend John McElroy. He's at a teardown specialist. The name,
you never can say his name right.
McElroy. Is it McElroy?
Yeah.
God damn it!
It's just like a Big Mac, like you got order a Big Mac.
I mean, I thought that was the wrong way last night. I had it all switched around in my head. Or our friend John McElroy, he's with a teardown specialist, and they go over he test drives it a lot on the road because it's a Chinese car. It's not we can't drive on the roads here.
If he ever tests a Hyundai, we're in real trouble with you.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
But just check out this. Just check out the video because there's a lot of talk about you know, Chinese cars and protecting the you know, our industry from Chinese cars. And man, I could talk. I was hoping we had more time today to talk about that kind of a thing.
I'll do a midweek show.
Yeah, maybe we should because there's just a bunch of stuff going on. But anyway, I think that should bring us to the end of our show today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or get in touch with us on the social media platform of your choice. Don't forget, if you like the show, please give us a thumbs up, click subscribe, tap that bell icon for notifications. Thank you all very much for joining us, and we'll see you all again very soon. Ciao.